How's it going everyone? I'm ZedFiles and today I'm going to be comparing the Deinonychus and the Raptor in another episode of Ark Creature Comparison. The first category I'm going to be comparing them in is resistance, and the first test for resistance will be health. For the whole video I'll be comparing the creatures with their base tamed stats. The Deinonychus has 200 health and the Raptor also has 200 health, so this test is a draw. The second test in resistance is armor. The Deinonychus saddle is learnt at level 32 and costs 25 fiber, 110 hide and 20 wood. The Raptor saddle is learnt at level 18, 14 levels before the Deinonychus saddle, and it costs all the same resources as the Deinonychus saddle. Since the Raptor saddle can be learnt at an earlier level, the Raptor wins this test. The winner for the resistance category is the Raptor with 1 test 1. The second category also doubles as a test, and it's attacks. The Deinonychus' first attack is its bite and claw attack. This attack does 52 damage per hit, has a fast attack speed and uses 5 stamina per hit. The bite attack also applies a bleed effect that can be stacked up to 5 bleed effects at a time. Each individual bleed effect lasts 7 seconds. Altogether, the 5 bleed effects will only drain under 1% of the victim's max health. The Raptor's first attack is also a bite and claw attack, but it does 26 damage per hit, has a very fast attack speed, and it also uses 5 stamina per hit, but it doesn't apply any effects. The Deinonychus has the better first attack since it does more damage and applies the bleed effect. The Deinonychus' second attack is the latch/pin. This attack allows the Deinonychus to latch onto some medium and large sized creatures and pin some small creatures, including players. On impact, this attack does 11 damage, along with the same bleed effect from its bite and claw attack. While on its victim, it will use its claw and bite attack, but at a slower rate. It doesn't really have an attack speed and it uses 75 stamina for the pounce, then rapidly drains stamina at around 20 stamina per second once it's on its victim. The Raptor's second attack is the pin attack that immobilizes small creatures and can take players off their mounts. This attack does 17 damage on impact, and then it does its usual claw and bite attack while pinned down its victim. This attack doesn't really have an attack speed and uses 5 stamina with no drain while pinning down its victim. Since the Deinonychus' second attack allows it to latch onto medium to big creatures, it has the better second attack. The Deinonychus' third attack is the roar. The Deinonychus can only use this attack if it has a pack with it and is a pack leader itself. The roar doesn't do any damage and can be used every 45 seconds and uses 5 stamina. The roar grants itself and other pack members the packmate buff. The packmate buff lasts 45 seconds and increases the pack members' damage by 50% and makes them take reduced damage. The Raptor's third attack is also the roar. It is the exact same as the Deinonychus roar, making the third attack a draw. The Deinonychus wins the damage category, having 2 better attacks and 1 attack that's just as good as the Raptor's. The third category is mobility. The first test in mobility is speed and stamina. The Deinonychus has 150 stamina and can run 26 seconds before running out, and this time it can travel 136 foundations. This means its speed is 52 foundations per 10 seconds. The Raptor also has 150 stamina and can also run 20 seconds before running out, and this time it can only travel 107 foundations. This means its speed is 41 foundations per 10 seconds. The Deinonychus wins this test. The second test in mobility is turning. I'll have the speed slowed down to 0.5 for this test so you can see the turning radiuses more easily. The Deinonychus' walking turning radius is very good, and its sprinting turning radius is also very good. It can't sidestep, but it can walk backwards. The Raptor's walking turning radius is very good, and so is its sprinting radius. It can't sidestep, but it can walk backwards, just like the Deinonychus. This test is a draw. The third and final test in mobility is swimming. The Deinonychus has 150 oxygen and can swim 20 foundations in 11.30 seconds. The Raptor also has 150 oxygen and can swim 20 foundations in 11.30 seconds. This test is a draw. The Deinonychus wins the mobility category with only 1 win, and the other 2 tests were draws. The next category is utility. The first test in utility is harvesting. The Deinonychus and the Raptor are both carnivores, so they can only harvest 2 of the items on this list, which is meat and hide. The Deinonychus is actually better than the Raptor for harvesting meat, so the Deinonychus wins this test. The second test in utility is weight. The Deinonychus and the Raptor both have the same amount of weight, at 140. This test is a draw. The Deinonychus wins the utility category with 1 test won. The next category is perks. The first test in perks is habitat. This test will show which creature's habitat is the easiest. The easier the habitat is, the easier it is to tame the creature, which is always a good thing. There are 3 factors in this test: conditions, threats, and rarity. I'll be using the Valguero map since both of the creatures spawn there. The Deinonychus are found in the White Cliffs, and the Raptors are mainly found in the jungle and boreal forests. The boreal forests is easier than the jungle biome, so I'll be using it for the factors. The White Cliffs conditions are pretty good, not too cold and not too hot. The boreal forest is a little bit hot. The Deinonychus wins the first factor. The second factor is rarity. The Deinonychus eggs are pretty common if you know where to look, but the Raptors are also pretty common, so this factor is a draw. The third and final factor is threats. This is any nearby threatening creatures that will get in the way while you're trying to tame the Raptors or just steal the Deinonychus eggs. The White Cliffs contains Allosauruses, Rexes, and hundreds of other Deinonychuses that will get in the way while you try and steal one of the eggs, while the boreal forest also contains these similar carnivores, but in much fewer numbers. The Raptor's habitat wins this factor. This test is a draw with 1 factor win per creature. The second test in the perks category is taming. The creature that is easier to tame wins. The Deinonychus and the Raptor are both aggressive creatures. This is a bad thing for the Deinonychus, but okay for the Raptor, because the Deinonychus is a raised tame, and the Raptor is a knockout tame. This means that the Deinonychus will chase you even before you steal the egg, which isn't helpful. It's okay for the Raptor because since it's a knockout tame, having it chase you isn't such a bad thing. A wild Raptor at its base stats has 180 torpor, which is pretty easy to knock out. Since the Deinonychus is a raised tame, the torpor doesn't matter. You'll instead have to spend hours hatching and maturing it. The Deinonychus speed is 52 foundations per 10 seconds, faster than the Raptor's 41 foundations per 10 seconds. Both of the creatures are carryable by Argentavis and above, but it's not that useful with the Deinonychus since it's not a knockout tame. Both creatures can be immobilized by bowlers, bear traps, and large bear traps. The diets are the same. The knocked out Raptors and baby Deinonychus both eat meat. The Raptor is by far easier to tame and wins this test. The third test in perks is abilities, passive abilities. The Deinonychus and the Raptor both have the ability to jump, but the Raptor's jump is much worse than the Deinonychus. 1 point to the Deinonychus. The Deinonychus' second ability is to climb up walls by jumping up higher and higher. Where it's looking is where it'll jump next. Unfortunately, this climbing mechanic is really glitchy, but it does work sometimes. Another point to the Deinonychus. The Deinonychus also takes no fall damage, so that's another point. The final ability is the ability that both of the creatures have, and it's the pack leader buff. It is seen by the orange glow around the Deinonychus head or the Raptor's body. The highest level creature in their pack will have this pack leader buff that applies the same effects as the packmate buff, which increases damage by 50% and takes reduced damage. The pack leader and packmate buffs are stackable, so if there's the pack leader, it can also have the packmate buff when it does its raw thing. This ability is a draw, so no points to either creature. The Deinonychus wins this test with 3 points. The fourth and final test in perks is bonuses. Both creatures are rideable, have saddles, allow rider weaponry, can be mate boosted, are breedable, lay eggs, and have the same feces size of small. The only factor that isn't a draw is the damageable structures factor. The Deinonychus can damage up to wood structures, while the Raptor can only damage up to greenhouse structures. The Deinonychus wins this test. The winner of the perks category is the Deinonychus with 2 tests won. The sixth and final category is the battles category. This category will show the creature's unmounted combat capabilities. There'll be 3 battles: the 1v1 battle, the saddled 1v1 battle, and then the 4v4 battle. Now that all of the categories are finished, it's time for the summary. The Deinonychus won the attacks, speed and stamina, harvesting, abilities and bonuses tests, so 5 tests, and won all 3 of the battles. The Raptor only won the armor and taming tests, which is 2 of the tests. The other 5 tests were draws. The Deinonychus won the attacks, mobility, utility, perks and battle categories, all but 1 category, which is the resistance category, which the Raptor only won because his saddle is learnt earlier. So the Deinonychus is better than the Raptor in every way, except for being harder to tame and having to wait an extra 14 levels in order to make its saddle. The Deinonychus is basically an improved Raptor, and the Raptor is basically a cheap Deinonychus for early game that you would use until you're ready to get a Deinonychus. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.